A startling headline grabbed our online attention a couple of weeks ago. It's easy to see why. The article is titled, "Why I'm Getting a Divorce in 2014. It's written by a man named Jared Wilson, who was quick to clarify he is not looking to divorce his wife. He wants to divorce his iPhone. Her name, he wrote, is iPhone 5. She's extremely smart, funny, reliable, and keeps me up to date with all the latest trends. And although she's always by my side, I can't help but notice that she's keeping me from spending time with the people who matter most in my life. God, my wife, my family, and my dreams." It's obviously a clever approach to a topic that is really tearing couples apart, sometimes unknowingly. Kristin Hodson is a licensed clinical social worker and founder of The Healing Group. She believes more people need to disconnect from media in order to reconnect with their spouse. Here's my question. We know technology is a distraction.
Right.
I think what's hard to quantify, though, is just the impact it's having on our core relationships. How is technology affecting marriages?
Well, I think the thing that we overlook often is how much time we're spending, that we don't track ourselves. And so we'll be like, oh, I'm only spending 30 minutes here. I'm spending an hour here. It was a couple hours today. And then when you really add that up, that ends up being 14 hours, which is basically a part-time job. You think about how much time we already have to absorb with obligations. You take 14 additional hours or 15, and that would really impact all relationships, especially your marital relationship.
This is a great reminder for everyone, because I think anyone would recognize, hey, yeah, I want to focus more on my relationships than I do that plastic screen. But it's those daily technology traps that catch us up on a regular basis, and we don't even realize how distracting they really are.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we can be sitting there and want to watch a show with our spouse, and we sit down, and all of a sudden, rather than cuddling with our spouse, we sit down and nestle in with our cell phone and cozy up, and we look here, and then we look up at the movie, but we're really not connecting here. We might be physically present, but we're virtually somewhere else.
That phone becomes our third arm. I'm so guilty of what you just described. Watching a movie, cuddling with Mark, but also having the phone right there in case I hear a ding or I hear a ping.
Oh, yeah.
And how is this affecting marriages then in your practice? Are you seeing couples really with a wedge in between them because of that iPhone?
I do. I see a lot of people that just can't put it down when they're at dinner. It's not that they're having dinner together, they're having dinner with them and the cell phone, or they'll be out with friends. But I also see Facebook genuinely create a big wedge because of the way that we interact. We have a different social media presence than we do in real life. We do things that we typically wouldn't if our spouse were watching. We lose a bit of transparency, and so that I do see that as a wedge.
And when you talk about the time and how we need to track our time, you also make the point that we need to track where we're investing our time and emotions, meaning there's those virtual relationships and then there's real relationships right in front of us.
Yeah, you know, I'm always amazed at how many people I'll get an alert that someone just planted some crop in their virtual farm. And we might be creating a great virtual farm, our Pinterest board might be amazing, our blog might be amazing, but how much of that is sucking our best energy and not our relationship? How much are we really dropping the ball with what's real and in front of us and in the now? And that's going to, frankly, be around.
Yeah, it's not going away. That we know. If you were to ask anyone, Kristin, am I committed to my spouse, my husband, my wife, my kids, my family, am I committed? They would say, oh yeah, absolutely. But you say we need to look at commitment in a different way and really pull the virtual world into what we're committing to. Yeah,
I also say be virtually committed. Every time you're online, especially with Facebook, because interestingly enough, 20% in 20% of divorce decrees, Facebook is specifically mentioned.
That statistic blows my mind.
Yeah, and so would you be doing what you're doing if your spouse is watching? Stay virtually committed. Act as though they're sitting right there with you and engage in that way. Stay transparent, stay honest.
As if they were right over your shoulder, like you said, responding with you or commenting alongside you.
Yeah, and think about, I mean, you have Wild West gunslingers, and nowadays I think of us as Gen X phone slingers, that our phones are always in the holster, they're ready anytime there's a ding or we're alerted. We'll pull that phone, and rather than telling that text to hold on, we tell our spouse to hold on, or we tell our kids to hold on. We're telling the people in our life to hold on, and we need to set that boundary of they can wait. We don't need to be so on demand.
Obviously, boundaries are going to be different for different people and different families, but help us set some general guidelines, some general house rules for how that technology balance should be playing out in our homes.
I really like it when I see people check technology at the door. They come home and I'll see someone have a little basket where all phones just go in a basket. No cell phones or media, turn the TV off at dinner time. They talk about how dinner time is really what keeps a family together, but if you're having a distracted dinner time, it's really not, that's not the point. So set up your parameters, talk with your spouse and say, how do we want to divorce from our phones? I love that article. What do we want to do? What are our own rules? And be intentional about it, and make those very concrete.
And again, these are reminders that we probably have to keep top of mind on a regular basis, because it is so easy to fall back into the habit of checking email over dinner or leaving the TV on as background noise. I'm so guilty of that. So daily reminding ourselves, or on a regular basis at least.
Yeah, it's just always do a spring clean, do a fall clear out where you're like, okay, go on a media fast, take a break. Instead of checking your phone first thing in the morning, check in with your spouse. Roll over and give them a hug and a kiss. Ask them and say good morning instead of checking in with all your Facebook friends. It's little things like that that make a big difference.
Beautifully said. Kristin, thank you so much for bringing this discussion to our attention. We're going to remind you, Kristin is the founder of the Healing Group. It's where women go for counseling, for support, and for hope. If you want to learn more, visit their website, thehealinggroup.com.